Good afternoon. Happy rainy day. Continuing with the laws of Sfira, Tuf Pei Tes Daled 489-4. Mi sheshalo sochavero ben hashmashos kami yemei Sfira b'zeh halayla. Someone asks you during ben hashmashos, what day of Sfira is it? Yomer lo etmol hay kach v'kach. Say yesterday was XYZ. So if tonight is the 8th day of the Omer, say yesterday was 7. Shim yomer lo hayom kach v'kach, because if you say to him today is the 8th day of the Omer, and yachal achzer v'lemnos a bracha, you can't go back and count with a bracha. Aval kodem ben hashmashos, but before ben hashmashos, kevan she'en zman sfira ein v'kach klum. Since it's not yet the time of sfira, there's no issue doing this. So we learned that ben hashmashos, according to some opinions, you could count sfira during ben hashmashos. What is ben hashmashos? Ben hashmashos is that questionable time where we're not sure if it is the next halachic day yet. It is after sunset and is before three stars come out. So during that time, according to some opinions, you could be Yotze, you could fulfill the mitzvah of Sfira. So if somebody asks you during that time, what day of Sfira is it? And you say, oh, today is the 8th day, or today is the 6th day of the Omer, then you fulfilled your obligation. And you can't go back and count after with a bracha. So you should say, oh, yesterday was day X. But before Ben Hashmashos, before Shkia, before sunset, there's no issue. Since there's no mitzvah yet, one does not fulfill the mitzvah, right? I could say right now, I could say that, tonight is the 33rd day of the Omer, whatever it is, it's not. Tonight is the 15th day of the Omer. There's no issue because I can't fulfill my mitzvah if I say that tonight is the 15th day of the Omer. But if I were to say that after sunset, since according to some opinions I would fulfill the obligation, that would be an issue. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Ben Hashmashos. Naked ben hashmashos mishum debediavad im berach ben hashmashos yatsa ukana. Like we said before, that if we said the medaktikim, those that are careful with mitzvos, the proper time to count sfira is after 3 stars come out, after tzeisuk kochavim. But one can technically, according to many opinions, fulfill the mitzvah of sfira during ben hashmashos, during that questionable time period. So all the more so, if somebody asks you after Tzeisuk Chavim, so if at 9 o'clock tonight someone says, oh, what night of Sfira is it? You shouldn't say that tonight is day 15, or whatever it is. Hayom kach v'kach, va'afil b'lashon laz, even in another language, so the issue here is not just Hebrew, but even if you answer him in English, or Spanish, or whatever it may be. V'im lo amar hayom, let's say you don't answer today is, les lan ba, mishum de'ikar mitzvah siras, hushi amar hayom kach v'kach. If you just say 15, that's not an issue. The only issue is when you say today is 15. But if you just say 15, that's fine. There was a rabbi I know that used to say, instead of saying yesterday it was 14, he would just say, look at line 15 to see what number to count. But the issue is to saying today is the 15th. Einu yachol. De'af de lo amr ba'omer. Yatsa b'diavad u'kanal b'siv kanchas. So he bevorns here that if someone asks you what date it is and you just say today is 15, you didn't say today is 15th day of the Omer. When you count the Omer, you say today is the 15th day of the Omer. So if you just said today is 15 and you didn't say the Omer, why is there an issue? So he says because saying the word that of the Omer at the end, that's just a preference, but that's not really integral to the mitzvah. So he says that, what's the reason that you can't answer him when someone asks you? So there's a debate in the Talmud, famous debate, about mitzvah srichas kavana. When I perform a mitzvah, do I need to have intent to fulfill the mitzvah? What if I do the mitzvah, but I don't have intent to fulfill it? For example, when I blow shofar, to fulfill the mitzvah of shofar, do I need to have active intent that I'm fulfilling the mitzvah? What if I just blow it and I don't have that in mind? Do I fulfill the mitzvah? So he says, even though we paskin mitzvah srichos kavana, that usually to fulfill a mitzvah, you need to have intent. And here, when the fellow asked me what day of Sfira it is, and I answered him, I didn't have intent to fulfill the mitzvah. I was just answering his question. I was being a nice guy. So he says, even though we usually need intent to fulfill mitzvahs, here, since I'm going to have to make a blessing later if I want to count again, and a blessing is a serious issue, right? To make a blessing perhaps involves taking God's name in vain. We're very stringent when it comes to making blessings we don't have to. So in this case, we're stringent. We say, you know what? We're going to be worried about that opinion which says mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavana, that mitzvahs do not require intent, and maybe you did fulfill the mitzvah, so if you want to go back and count svira again, you cannot do that with a blessing. Then your bracha says, okay. There's something else you can do. There's something else you can do, which is to have, when the person asks you what day it is, you can tell him that today is the 15th day of the Omer, but have in mind that I'm not fulfilling the mitzvah when I am telling him what day it is. Because the So he says here that the whole issue of answering somebody of what day it is, that's only before I start counting weeks, meaning the first 6 days of the Omer. Why? Because if he says, what day is it? And I say it's day 5, then I fulfilled the mitzvah of the Omer. But he says, like, for example, today, if he asks me what day it is, and I say, oh, today is 15, so that's not an issue according to these opinions, to these rabbis, because I didn't totally fulfill the mitzvah of counting, because the mitzvah of counting the Omer, you have to mention the days, and you have to mention the weeks. So I said that today is 15 days, but I didn't say which is 2 weeks and 1 day of the Omer. So since I didn't mention the days and the weeks, it is not a problem. But as the Shulchan Aruch says, the preference, what one should do is someone asks what day of the Omer it is, just easily say that yesterday was XYZ, and one will take care of all issues. Wishing everyone a beautiful day.